Welcome to CHRO Club. Today we have Shweta Mohanty, Head of People and Culture at SAP India, as a change maker in episode 3 of season 3. Welcome to CHRO Club. Pleasure to have you here. As a woman leading HR for SAP India, and that too in this era of disruption, what kind of collaborations are you doing with the C-suite to lead the agenda?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest, learning that I've had more so in the last few years is that, your HR agenda or a people agenda is not very different from your business agenda. And it still pains me when people talk about these two in different, parameters and in different kind of understanding. I would say that, the value that a CHRO brings in, if the people agenda is on top of, the business agenda, and together we are trying to, achieve the business outcomes. And, as CHRO for SAP in India, I say this is the best time to be in SAP because there's a lot of transformation happening, there's a lot of exciting work happening, but it is also an opportunity during times of transformation to partner with, your CXOs in a way that you're literally a mirror to them. You are asking them the right questions, even if there are sometimes those questions are the uncomfortable questions. You are asking questions early on to them so that they are, trying to gauge, the sentiment of how we have to achieve our business outcome, taking our people along. So it's exciting times, I would say, Puja. It's really exciting to partner with the business. It's exciting to have today's CXOs giving even more importance because more importance to HR and the value of HR, because no transformation can be successful without taking the people along. And they realize that in a knowledge industry like the industry that SAP is in, it's even more important that during transformation the people are engaged, they're aligned to our business strategy, they are learning, and then they are delivering to the value that we want.
Yeah. So SAP powers people functions in many organizations, across the industries. And you are both a leader and a user. So, tell us a little bit about that.
I'm personally very proud of that. And I do believe, that gives us a tremendous edge. And we always say that we drink our own champagne. But beyond that, I think what it really helps is that we are, not just the user, we are also able to kind of understand and empathize with the pain points, of our customers. Today, if we are taking out a new version of a success factor product or a new innovation we are doing, we are just not understanding the value that it is going to bring to the customers. We also understanding the messy implementation process that it goes through. So our empathy, for our customers is always at a very high level, because we are able to kind of be the first users of our products.
Yeah.
It also helps, Puja, that in a development organization, and we have a huge SAP labs, in India, we are also sitting next to the product teams who are building those products. So it's also an opportunity for us to kind of not only just share feedback, also give them, this is how the user experience is. This really needs to change from a UI perspective, or this is how the software is probably becoming intuitive or not becoming intuitive. So that part of my job I truly enjoy, because on one side I am the user, so I'm experiencing the product. On the other side, I'm speaking to the customers and really understanding what they are going through. And then to complete the cycle, I do have a great collaboration happening with the product teams who actually sit just next to me.
Yeah, you're really walking the talk of playing a role in business from so many dimensions.
Yes.
So for every HR, getting the right people on board is very critical, and it is so important for the business and so important for the long-term business growth. And so today you're competing with, agile and fast-paced startups to get the tech, with the tech talent. So what is the kind of EVP you are designing to lure the best talent to join SAP?
Yeah. For us, our biggest strength always has been, the culture, that we have created in the organization. when I go, to a campus and I'm addressing a set of, students with starry eyes and they are looking at what is the value SAP can bring in, I always tell them that, everybody has a choice. You can join, like you said, a startup, but you are always not sure about the longevity, of the idea or the vision that they have. And before you know, while it might offer you a great title and of course, good money, you are not able to, know when that's going to fold up, right? Or when things are not going to work out. What people don't realize is that SAP has a strong legacy of 50 plus years. And we still have a little bit like a startup culture, right? Where, and I'm saying it with a sense of responsibility because Puja, we have gone through multiple transformations. If you look at SAP's journey, we are a, on-prem enterprise organization, then wanting to be a cloud-first organization, and now, the AI revolution that we are, also being a part of it. So change and transformation is not new to us. But our ability to adapt to it every time and bring value to our customers and innovate has really stood the test of time. And that's the value that, I do believe that, when we are going and sharing our EVP, we try to share that. But are we sharing it as much as I would have liked to? I must, tell you that more needs to be done because somehow, SAP is still a little bit of an unknown kind of an organization because we work in the enterprise space,
sadly,
right?
I spoke to few people yesterday, couple of people, and every one of them, young lot, they called it SAP.
Yes.
And I had to correct them. It's not SAP, it is SAP.
Yes, it starts from that, whether they fully understand, what is, what's the branding around it, but it kind of goes a bit deeper because we are not an organization where a college goer can actually play around it with maybe some of our competitors do, they are in the consumer space.
Okay.
But we, the kind of problems we are trying to solve, today you see the world is crippled with supply chain issues and, there are so many aspects about healthcare. A few years back we had a massive pandemic, right?
Yeah.
The role that an SAP plays in ensuring that you get your your supplies on time, you get your medicines on time, to kind of ensure that there is help provided when somebody is literally in a hospital bed. I feel personally very proud. That's what we are trying to solve as an organization, and we need to tell that story more boldly. With much more confidence, and that's the part that I'm working in, whether we are able to go to everybody and show them the value and what they create and where it goes, and the sense of pride and sense of accomplishment they will have, if they join SAP and work on some of the products is immense.
I just hope this conversation helps you to move an inch forward,
I would
if not much.
Forward. I really hope more and more people, hear it, but more and more people also follow SAP as an organization.
Right.
Catch up to the innovation that we are doing, know our transformation journey, know how, how bold we have been. If you look at last 5-6 years, and I'm talking about 2019, 2020, we really took that bold step, to being a cloud-first organization when we had a very successful on-prem enterprise business, and we realized that, and
it's
the market
future.
did not.
Cloud is
the market
the future.
did not react too well around it, but we have turned around the story. Now AI has come in. I'm very confident we are going to turn around the story there as well. But that journey is very important for, the young college goers, people who are wanting to build great careers. To know more about.
Yeah, you brought about AI, and I must ask you, because a lot of leaders in our community are still demystified with AI and HR and how the two should marry each other. And since SAP is heavily invested in AI and even in success factors, so tell us some critical use cases that you are seeing from AI in HR.
Oh yeah, so we have extensive work happening around it, and I think we already spoke about, Puja, that we have our success factors, and the success factor journey also is working on how we are going to bring in the value of AI for our customers as well as for our employees. So there are some wonderful use cases around it, and not all use cases are just kind of driving efficiency and productivity. Of course, there is efficiency that AI brings in a workflow where you're going to able to do things faster. But the value also is in terms of insights, the data insights that AI is bringing in. Today, if I'm sitting with my business leader and the insights are able to capture from different sources and tell me that in the next 10 years, or not even next 10 years, next 10 months, this is how the world is going to change and I need to adapt my organization. That's valuable, information that goes into strategic workforce planning in terms of your hiring cycles, where you're going to hire, who you're going to hire, how your org pyramid is going to look like, the organizational models are going to look very different from then on. So there's so much of value that we are able to envision, and there is a lot of work that is already happening. I would say wait and watch. In just about a month, we are going to have a big release of our growth portfolio for success factors, where we are already bringing in some of these aspects, for our customers, but also for internally for SAP. We do believe that fundamentally AI is going to bring about change in the workforce practices, both in terms of driving productivity, efficiency, but more than that, significant value for business leaders and HR leaders.
For those organizations where the HR is just about starting to adapt tech and starting to, actually play a bigger role in business, or at least some role in business, what would you say should be the starting steps of how HR can earn a seat at the board and play a role in business?
I think the business acumen and empathy for your customers is one of the first things that I would say that any HR organization or HR leadership really needs to bring in. You need to speak the language of the business. You need to understand the challenges that your business leaders are facing. And if you are there on the same same table, kind of trying to demystify the challenges, and you will realize that you are gaining credibility from what you are bringing in. A few years back we used to hear that it's the death of HR, and maybe HR professionals won't have a great future. But I must tell you, Puja, that it's very different from what I am seeing and what I'm personally experiencing. I am called up by my business leaders far more than I was probably 5 years back. There is far more interest in understanding how I'm going to bring, the people aspect to every decision that they are taking in. But for that, we have to understand, the business very well. And I always say every HR professional should be able to talk business, and every business profession should be able to talk people. And if you're able to do that, that's great.
Shweta, you already spoke about the number of innovations that are happening in, let's say, SAP SuccessFactors or the other products that you're creating. And the environment right now is moving in such a fast pace that every single employee needs to perform now. There is no threshold to, wait and watch. That creates an environment which can be a little intimidating and little difficult for the workforce. So how do you kind of balance that and keep the culture of the organization psychologically safe?
Yeah, you're so right, and I'm already kind of experiencing and observing the same in my organization, but certainly when I speak to peers, it's really the same story everywhere. The pace of change is so relentless. That it's very, very important for us to create a psychological safety for our employees, to be able to voice, their challenges and concerns. And it just goes beyond your, employee feedback surveys. It is really leaders trying to reach out and have open, candid conversations, on where people are struggling in. For us, we realized one of our big segments where the challenge becomes amplified is our manager layer. And for them it is even more tougher, Puja, because they have to understand, and kind of cope up with the change, and also keep the teams motivated, to kind of adapt to it. And that becomes, extremely stressful for our, managers. But what has really helped us is that we have, repeatedly, and from our leadership as well, have conveyed to people that, number one, you should continue to learn and upskill yourselves. So the all conversations, whether my job will be there or how things are going to change, from my deliverables or my goals, will go away if you are really, upskilling. And for us, it's not that we want everybody to be there at the highest level in terms of, technology. We are really defining the learning paths at each level in the organization. We are taking it a bit slow for areas where we realize that they are being pulled in different directions. But it's very, very important for us to give them the safety net, that you can, you learn about it, you share your feedback, but you also kind of, tell if you are struggling. And that's exactly one of the reasons why, if you hear what's happening around, in terms of all the other hyperscalers and the kind of, restructuring exercises that is going on, in SAP we have been able to cushion it to a large extent, purely because we started very early having those conversations. We started very early around those upskill initiatives, and I do feel we are in a far better, position to kind of, adapt to all the pace of the change that is coming in due to that.
Yeah. So every organization is also getting structurally changed.
Yes.
So, the job roles are no more fixed. And you're looking at each work from the point of view of skills. So it is a shift towards skill-based hiring, skill-based growth.
Yeah.
And the talent playbook also has a new leaf.
Yeah.
So today you have to make those kind of choices, whether you want to buy or you want to build, automate, or you want to borrow.
Yeah.
So how are you making those decisions, and what is really helping you?
There are lots of conversations on that already happening in SAP Puja, and I think it will be very premature for me because those conversations are still at a very early stage around it. But if you ask our organizations, not only in SAP but across the spectrum of whether it is tech or manufacturing or FMCG, our organization structures are going to look very differently. And what I mean is not that the pyramid will be upside down, or we will not hire campus hires, or not of that. It will not be from static. It is going to move to become agile.
Correct.
What I mean is that today, the job profiles define how your career is going to grow. Tomorrow, the skills are going to be be the currency of that change.
Yeah.
So if you, and skills is a wonderful opportunity. Somehow, Puja, I feel there is a lot of misconception about, the skill-based, kind of frameworks that organizations are introducing.
Yeah.
Many people feel that it is restrictive, but I, on the other hand, feel that it is going to really expand, bringing in the best of what you're doing. So my job progression or career graph is not going to probably look linear. It's going to look, very different. Tomorrow I'm going to be pulled by somebody who needs to leverage my leadership experience. 1 year later, I might be required to solve a tech problem for for a customer.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, I do believe earlier we used to have a T-shaped, learning model. I think it's becoming like a, vast shaped learning model where your fundamentals, you start with certain, core skills, and then you need to keep on expanding. And I always say the more you try to build around that, the more beneficial it would be. But I think it's a great opportunity rather than, a derailer. It's going to help people who have, different kind of skills, across the spectrum, of the core engineering or technical or non-technical, kind of bringing it together in a beautiful form.
Yeah.
And that's exactly why I say it's a wonderful time to be in HR, because some of the foundational work, which will probably lead us for the next 30 years is going to happen now.
Yeah. So you will be leaving behind your own legacy for other leaders.
I really hope so, because for the first, and I'll be honest, Puja, that a few years back, a lot of HR leaders were truly challenged because, we realized that that's the change coming in, but we were not able to kind of, have a point of view on how that's going to lead. And I believe AI has, advent of AI has really brought some of those things, simplified some of those things for us. The skills conversation has simplified some of those things. And every CEO today, the conversations that they are having, even they are setting up the teams, is let me get the CHRO first,
Yeah.
right? And what a wonderful shift that has happened, because they do realize that if I don't, get the right people leader to kind of give direction on the part that the organization is going to move in, I would be lagging behind. And it's wonderful that we are able to be in an era to see that change.
So now we move to the season 3 signature segment. What's one thing you believe most HR leaders in the tech industry are underestimating right now?
I think that whole aspect about learning agility, is more work that needs to be done around that. I do still feel that organizations are a little bit caught up in their legacy, and it's very easy for them to say this is how it worked, but we really need to bring in more learning agility around organizations where people don't look at their roles and then define the learning path. For example, every other senior leader that I see today is lapping onto reverse mentoring, where they have actually a Gen Z, kind of coming and trying to help them understand. So, the boundaries are really collapsing in terms of who you can learn from and what you can learn and what pace you can learn, right? So, that's something which I feel many HR leaders are still underestimating, and there's more work that needs to be really done on that.
Yeah, I think it's time that we move from how to actually what is happening. So today people are looking at skilling from the outcome point of view more than like number of hours, certification, etc. Because that is clearly not.
That is not clearly there, and I think that's exactly the point. For sure certifications are helpful, but for how long? Right? So for you, to be able to apply that learning.
Correct. Show the impact on.
So rather than just kind of accumulating a lot of learning, I think where organizations will fail is if we don't give the opportunity for the organization or the people to apply that learning.
Right.
The other thing I would also say, Puja, is that some conversations that I see that when we are talking about AI, I think there's a lot of conversation happening on, okay, this is going to drive efficiency. We are going to free up our time to do strategic work.
Right.
But not many organizations are really defining what does that strategic work look like.
Correct.
Right, and that is the role of a CHRO, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Because if you're saying that 40% of my bandwidth is actually saved because there is an agent who's running some of the basic stuff, you really need to define what that strategic work really looks like for that person. So I think we are in that journey, and that transition will happen soon, because right now it's all about learning about the tools, learning to see where the impact is coming with AI. But very soon the conversations is going to be then how are you valuing your employee? What do you look in terms of an outcome? And that applies to us also, right? In HR, if we are, and HR is a great use case, right? Because there's a lot of work which is transactional, which is manual, and you really need to get somebody to do that, and that's going to be taken by AI. But then how are you going to use that to drive those conversations? What does it mean in terms of conversations with CXOs and setting up a people agenda which is future oriented? I think that's again one area where I feel I'm seeing the change happening, Puja, but maybe it needs to
take
be a
longer time,
faster rate.
As AI increasingly takes over HR's transactional and analytical work, is the function at risk of becoming irrelevant?
No, absolutely not. I fundamentally believe just the other way around. Like I said, I think people underestimate, the value of an HR function or a people function in an organization. On the contrary, I believe that with AI really putting in the value what HR is going to bring in is going to be at another, level, because we are not doing running reports and, kind of doing your transactions. We are now thinking about how some of those transactions are connecting, in terms of how a benefit is being used. We are having conversation at that level on how to change, the structure of the organization, and that is a work which nobody else can do but a HR professional, that value that they can bring to the table. So on the contrary, the demand for HR folks is going to an HR function is going to be even more. But you pointed out to a good kind of aspect, Puja, because is it going to happen naturally? No. I think there are more kind of enablement, there is more hard conversations that HR professionals need to do with themselves. So it's like a change curve, right? It's going to come down a little bit with some amount of disruption, and then it's going to, completely go up.
Go up, yeah. Shweta, as a matter of fact, you spent most of your career in technology sector. Was that a conscious choice, or it just so happened?
I would say a bit of both, Puja. So in the beginning of my career, I started my career with Wipro in the early 2000s, and I got through from campus after doing my MBA. And at that point in time, it just seems like logical. It was, one of the most admired tech organizations, and I wanted to kind of be a part of the journey that they were going through. But I do believe the choices that I have made henceforth are the conscious choices, because I don't see this kind of pace, anywhere else in any other sector. And every few years it challenges me. At this point in time, I'm learning cloud, and I'm learning, the AI tools. I'm learning how to do my job better at it. Those are some of those things which I have been, I've got a front seat, to see that transition and transformation coming in. So my decision to continue with tech was driven by the fact, that I wanted to play a key role, an important role in that, change and transformation that was happening. So it was a bit of both, I would say.
Yeah. Any piece of advice you would like to leave for youth who are planning to advance their careers in HR?
Yeah, I would say, my advice would be, do not look at traditional way in which HR is done, right? It is far more dynamic, and every few years you need to, refresh your toolkit and learn, aspects that are changing. But if there is somebody who has a curiosity and the ability to question the status quo and move out of comfort zone, every few years this is just the place to be. So I would say learn, upskill, be open to change, and you would have a great career in HR.
Yeah. No, clearly through this conversation, you've kind of shown a path as to how you get a seat on the board and, play a bigger role in business. And actually, you speak very passionately about success factors and its use cases and customers. Wonderful talking to you, Shweta. Thank you for being part of CHRO Club. It was wonderful having you.
It is always a pleasure to talk to you, Puja, and thank you so much for having me at the CHRO Club.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you in the next one.